Okay, thanks for coming today to our Lunch and Learn featuring the incredible Mark Pond from the Spokane Public Library. He will be talking about researching your market, and this is actually a two-part series, so the next Lunch and Learn will be March 13th, same place, same time. And I'm just going to pass it right over.
Okay, and I think that I'm going to do without the mic. We are recording live, so can I just put it in my pocket? Will that work? Because I'll need to be doing a fair amount of typing. So I'll just maybe set it down here on the table, and if you start getting weird feedback, let me know. But for now, for the introductory part, I'll hold on to it. So welcome everybody, thanks for coming. My name's Mark. I am the business research librarian for the Spokane Public Library. And I just came from a presentation over at the Small Business Administration. It was great. Had a class of 6 or 7 folks in there who were interested in starting up businesses. I did my dog and pony show there, ran over here. My nose was kind of dripping, so I thought I better go blow my nose before I do the presentation. Walked in. Thank you. I'm planning ahead. Got into the bathroom and I realized my pants were unzipped. So, baby steps is what we're looking for today. Just a little bit of progress every single time. So, pants are zipped up, yes. And with that, SpokaneBusiness.org. That's the platform that you guys have access to as residents of the greater Spokane area. So, a little bit of background about the resource here. We've had this page up and running, I would say, since about 2014, May of 2014. And in terms of resources that public libraries make available to their communities, this is one of a kind. I spend a fair amount of time kind of browsing around, checking out what other libraries are offering to their local communities, and it's us and it's New York Public Library that are leading the charge here in terms of business resources that we make available to our community. So, like Kelly mentioned, this is a two-part series. So I'll be doing this one today, and then the other one March, I can't remember, off the 13th? 13th. Yes. So today, how I thought that we would chop things up is, today I'm going to focus more on B2C types of research. So if you got a business that you need to connect directly with consumers, with individual households, that will be kind of the focus for today. And then March 13th we'll take more of a B2B type of approach and a really deep dive there in terms of the tools and resources that we have available that will help you research your market. So for today though, we're going to be focusing in on kind of more the household world and what that looks like. Quick word here just about the tools. You know, I already mentioned that we've got a pretty amazing set of resources going here. What I say about it is far less impactful and interesting, I think, than what you say about it and what the Spokane business community has to say about it. And I'm really happy that we've got a fan base out there who are avid cheerleaders and are really supportive of what we've got going here. And in terms of the businesses that I work with, it ranges from folks who have just moved to Spokane from Puerto Rico and they've got maybe 10 cents to rub together and they're really excited about the tools that they have access to here. Worked with a company here in town. They're out in the valley. You probably recognize them. They just got close to $1 billion in outside funding here within the last year. They are using our tools and resources. I work with the Vista. I work with anyone in between. So it's a set of tools that covers a lot of ground, that you don't have to just hit just a particular bullseye for us to have some application there for you. And I'll try not to trip over this chair. So with that, let's go ahead. We'll just dive in here. If you guys have questions, thoughts, comments as we go, feel free to shout them out. I'm happy to take side tangents and have side conversations. With that, I think that those are the basic kind of background nuts and bolts there. I do have brochures here to pass around. These kind of give you the 90,000-foot overview of what we've got going here. And they're only slightly out of date. So there's one resource that we just added in January, and I'm waiting for new brochures to come back from the printer, so they're 97% accurate. All right, with that, here we go. I'm going to set the mic down here, and I hope that the audio recording works. Okay. So earlier this summer, I was working with a woman here in town. She's been a stay-at-home mom for the last 5 or 6 years, but by profession, she's a fitness trainer, specifically a CrossFit fitness trainer. And now that her kids are of a certain age, heading back to school, she's thinking, oh, all right, she might have enough latitude and time in her schedule now to look at possibly opening up her own gym. So I'm going to use her as an example, just to kind of tie the threads together here as we work through these resources today. But just know that it's an example, and sometimes we've got more data per industry than for other industries. Sometimes it does vary a little bit specifically of what you're looking for, how much of a deep dive we can take. So just know that results may vary from what we're going to look at here today. But often where I'll start folks out, if we scroll on down the page here from SpokaneBusiness.org, and logistical note, the resources here on the web page are listed out alphabetically. So I have them put together in a slightly different order on that brochure that I just handed around. But IBISWorld, this is usually where I'll start folks off if they're in the business planning stage. What we get access to here are generally 30 to 40 page market research reports. They're national in scope, so you can't really drill down to the Spokane market, which is sometimes bonus, sometimes negative. But it's a good place to get started. So if it's a resource that you do have to come to the downtown library to use, we call that out on the website here saying, IBISWorld, it's only available at the downtown library. And in terms of other public libraries, it's either us here downtown, or you could drive to New York to get access to it. So, you know, your call. But it seems like keeping it local might be a good approach for you. All right, so IBISWorld, like I said, 30 to 40 pages of research, all pulled together in one document for you. Great place to kind of get lay of the land to see what's going on in your particular world. So you can browse through by industry, but usually you can just start throwing in some keyword searches. Would it help if I slide a little bit over this way? All right, so here we go. Gym, health, and fitness clubs in the US. So you don't always find the exact bullseye of what you might be looking for your specific industry. I was working with a guy, this was a couple years ago now. He was interested in starting up a food truck. So we've got reports and data on food trucks. They're awesome. And at the end of my spiel, he said, hey, that was great, but I'm Lebanese, so what do you have for Lebanese food trucks? And the answer is 0. That level, that granular level of data, it gets folded up into these kind of broader, more industry-wide reports. So sometimes you can't get down to a really granular level, which in the business world, that can be really frustrating that you can't find that specific level of data. But you know, sometimes that's kind of the Jekyll and Hyde of the research process, is you want a little narrow niche where you're not competing with a whole lot of other folks. And if you have that, I don't have a lot of data to pull from. So that's kind of the back and forth there. But for this particular example, gym, health, and fitness clubs in the US, these reports from IBISWorld, they're updated at least yearly, sometimes up to 4 times a year if there's a whole lot of change going on in that particular industry. So this was just from 6 weeks or so ago, December. So each of these reports, regardless of you know, whether it's long-haul truck driving or it's the fitness and health world, your target industry is going to land right there in the middle of your screen, and then you'll get links out to your supply industry, so what's going on with your athletic and sporting good and manufacturing world. That's a separate 30 or 40 page report there. But then the way to navigate through each one of these individual reports are these tabs that run across the top. So the industry at a glance, It's approaching a $33.5 billion market. So if she just gets 10% of that, she's set. She laughed, and she's like, yeah, right. 1% of that, you'd be rolling. But some really valuable stuff when it comes to business planning purposes here. I'll zoom in just a bit so you can get a closer sense. All right, so she's putting together her business plan. It is really helpful to know that almost 70% of gym and fitness club revenue comes from membership fees. If she's putting together her structure for her business and she's only projecting 35% of her revenue coming from membership fees, either she's figured out the holy grail of that particular world and she's just going to kill it, or she's going to get slaughtered. There's probably not too much gray area in between for that big of a difference. So she needs to know that going into that process. Other piece that kind of left off the page for her was that 5.1% of the revenue comes from meals and beverages. And she's like, yeah, I don't want to deal with food handler cards. I don't want to deal with the regional health district. I don't want to deal with refrigeration units. No, that's not for me. So, perfectly valid business decision to say, nope, not going to offer that. But she needs to know that her competitors out there, that's 5% of their revenue. Something really handy to be aware of going into the process rather than 18 months down the road saying, geez, I'm just getting slaughtered here. What's going on? So I won't march you through every single tab that's here under the this particular report, but know that under each individual page, multiple pages of data to sift through. One thing that it is worth shouting out here, though, is Key Statistics tab. So here you get 10 years of historical data, along with 5-year projections of where the industry is expected to go. And then down below, if it's a big enough industry for IBISWorld to gather the data, you get these industry financial ratios. And this data, it's coming from RMA, Risk Management Association. So that's a group of commercial lenders, it's CPAs. They take their clients' data, they anonymize it, they turn it over to RMA. Then RMA was able to look at the financial statements for 321 gyms and fitness centers around the nation, put together the industry averages, and report back. So for the client who's in that business planning process, and she's maybe projecting 26% net cash after operations, if she can come in here and say, oh, geez, industry average is half of that, again, either she's just nailed it and it's going to be awesome, or she's got some really rosy projections that might not match up with reality. So, each one of these reports, pretending like you're sitting at the downtown library, you can download the entire PDF, dump it into one report, and it grabs every single page that was hidden behind all of those tabs there. And there's your 35 pages of what's going on in this particular industry. If you tried to get to this report on your own right now or do it from home, $990 is what IBISWorld charges retail price for each one of these reports. So you could pay $990, or you could come to the library, get it for free. I'd say get it for free every single time. And I've had folks come in to the downtown branch, they bring in their own laptop, they sit down, and over the course of an afternoon or even an hour or so, they walk out the door with literally tens of thousands of dollars worth of market research reports. Huge. Great place to start. So, I use IBISWorld a ton for those types of business planning questions, as well as it gets used a lot for sales lead sales professionals. So if you've got some product or service or widget that you're trying to sell to the gym and fitness club industry, and you don't really know that world, download the report tonight, go out on your sales call tomorrow, and you'll be able to have a much more intelligent conversation with the folks on the other side of the desk. So it gets used a lot in that particular scenario as well. All right, so IBISWorld, just a great place to start, kind of get broad level data of what's going on in your particular industry. If we come back here to the home base, other tool to throw your way. This is also one that you have to come to the downtown branch to use. Statista. Statista, what they do is they pull data from tens of thousands of different industry research resources. Let me get logged in here. So, a lot of it's publicly available information, census type of data that anyone can get to. But Statista, they also subscribe to some really high-end third-party market research reports. So you'll find really pricey and hard to find and expensive data tucked away in here. The search functionality and capability of Statista leaves something to be desired. I was working with a cookie manufacturer a couple years ago, and we're searching for Oreos, I think it was. I searched for Oreos with an S, and I got 2 hits. And then I took the S off, and there was a mountain of data. And I was like, well, come on, Statista, that's stupid. So just know that sometimes, though, you have to play around with the search terminology and do a little trial and error. But let's just come in here. We'll see what they have on the fitness industry. All right, so they've got over 1,000 different data points. Statista, it's actually a German-owned company, so you get a lot of weird international data sometimes. Let's just come in here and tell it, okay, we only want to focus just here domestically. All right, here we go. So now we're down to just 174 different data points here. So just a great spot to start kind of splashing around to see what's out there. So in the wellness industry, we've got 51 pages here of data, just market research that's already been done on your behalf. You don't have to go out, knock on doors, figure out what types of information is already out there. So here's 51 pages of health and wellness and spa industry world. All right, so let's just share of online bookings at spas. By spa type. Okay, all right, great. So 10% or less of bookings at resorts and hotels came from online. This is information that is really hard to go out and track down on your own. A couple of things that I really like about Statista is that they go out, they gather the data, they put it into a screen like this that makes it pretty easy for anyone in the room to just glance at it and say, oh, okay, got it. The other thing that they do really well down there is they link out to the source of their data, so they'll tell you exactly who they talked to, where they found the data. So when you're, say, sitting down in front of a commercial lender and the commercial lender is saying, hey, where did you get these numbers? You can say, I didn't just look them up in my gut. I looked them up someplace reputable with some authority, and here's what they have to say. So again, Statista, great place to start splashing around, trying to get a sense of what's going on at kind of the broad level. All right, so let's come down here more to the Spokane market, though. So for our CrossFit trainer, she's actively trying to figure out, okay, where's the best location for her gym? Where should she put it? And that type of site location, those types of questions, we've got some tools that do a pretty fabulous job of pointing folks in the right direction. So first one to throw your way. Demographics now. So like the name implies, it's pretty heavily focused on demographics, who lives where, age, income levels, education levels, race, ethnicity, all those sorts of basic demographic data points. But a couple of things that it does really well for this type of question. One, it covers the entire nation. So if our fitness trainer, if she's aware of a CrossFit gym in Boise that's just killing it and doing really well, she can match Spokane's numbers up against Boise's numbers, just put them in columns side by side, and really quickly and really easily get a sense of, all right, how do we stack up? All right, so demographics now. Step number one is defining that geographic region that you're interested in. So you can do that, here, I'll pull this list up here. You can do that in a silly number of ways. So you can do it by census block group, you can do it by Nielsen marketing areas, you can do it by zip code, you can do it by school district, you can do it by a radius around a particular point. However it is that you want to set up your geographic region, you can do that. So let's do this. This is a search that gets used quite a bit. You can actually put in street address, so we'll do center of the known universe at the downtown Spokane Public Library, 99201. Okay, and it does a pretty good job of matching your address there. So their default when you're doing a radius search is to give you that 1, 3, and 5 mile radius around the address that you just put in, but that's totally customizable. You can look at that and say, well, the 5 mile piece, that goes out too far. I don't want that. Take that one out. It narrows it in. But an approach that gets used a ton is this drive time analysis. So within 15 minutes, how far away can folks get from the downtown library, or conversely, how long does it take them to get to me? So we can set up that region, however it is that you do that. Go ahead and get that set up. And then there are dozens of reports. If we jump over here to this demographics tab, literally dozens and dozens of reports that you can now run on that region that you just selected. So if you're wondering, okay, well, I'm interested in maybe offering, maybe I'll have a bar at my bar class. How fun would that be? You know? That might actually get me to go. So you can come in here and see, all right, within that 15-minute drive time, the average household spending $156.60 on their beer and ale. So for some of us, that's a Wednesday night, but to know that you can take that $156, multiply it out by the total number of households, at 90,000 households, there's your total beer and ale spending within that 15-minute drive of the downtown library. But more to the point of our fitness folks here. So out of all of these reports that you can run, this Mosaic HH, which stands for Household Cluster Comparison Report. So Mosaic is a subsidiary of Experian Credit Reporting Agency. And Experian, they are sitting on trillions, hundreds of trillions of consumer transactions. So if I go and I swipe my credit card and I buy a new backpacking stove over at REI, Experian gets a ping and they're like, oh, Mark just bought a new backpacking stove, or he just bought a new sleeping bag. That tells us something about him, and Experian knows a lot about me, and assuming you are all using credit cards, they know a goofy amount of information about you all as well. So they take that data, they anonymize it to a certain degree, and then they take every single household in the US and dump them into one of these 71 different customer segments. So read these kind of from high income with your American royalty folks there at the top, down to low income with your tough times and tight money types of households. And then there are some waves in between based primarily on age. But if you're wondering, Mark, what's the difference, say, between a family funtastic household and an aging of Aquarius household? So demographics now, they have some of that data, but you can actually get straight to the mothership. Experian makes this available, which is pretty cool. If you go, I actually don't list this website out on that brochure. This segmentationportal.com. This is publicly available. You do have to get login credentials through Experian. So if you go under that, how can I get access? Click on that. They'll tell you what hoops to jump through. But once you have a username and password set up, you can log in. You can do this from home, from work, wherever you have internet access. And if we go under this understand piece, and for our CrossFit woman who's interested in opening up her own gym, she is thinking of focusing on kind of younger households, but those that are obviously into their physical fitness, but maybe have kids in the house as well. So she's thinking maybe I should offer kids programs or even childcare at her facility. So we were just kind of bouncing around and saying, well, maybe it is those family fantastic households. Who are they? What do they look like? So, according to Experian, they tend to be between 36 and 45, ex-household income, they tend to own their own homes. They're way off the charts in terms of donating to charities. They're also into their active lifestyles, so that matches up pretty well with who she's trying to focus in on. This other piece over here, though, this channel preference data, that is pure gold when it comes to marketing. So those are index scores indicating how well family fantastic households respond to different modes of marketing. And these are, so if they're exactly at 100, that means they're exactly at the national average for response rates to that particular mode. So if they're at 190 for email, that's email, that means they're 90% more likely than average to click on an email offer. Useful to know. They fall off the charts when it comes to radio advertising. If these are the folks that you're trying to reach, don't put out a radio ad. The numbers say, doesn't work. So your options here are TV, direct mail, radio, mobile / texting, then email and social media. So they're 2.5 times more likely than average to respond to social media appeals. Again, for marketing purposes, rather than just trying to broadcast broadly and say, okay, well, I'm just going to send out some direct mail flyers. Well, in this case, might not be such a bad choice, but to know that you get 2.5 times your bang for your buck for the amount of effort that you put into it with your social media platform, really handy to know going into that process. So all of this data, should this be the type of household that you want to focus on, you can take the deeper dive over here. If you click on this little clipboard, this will give you the kind of narrative description of who these folks are, where they spend their time, where they spend their money, how they view the world. But then if you really want to plug your nose and go deep, down under this little bar chart here, this is where Experian is sitting on those hundreds, maybe even approaching 1,000 different data points of who these folks are. And so you can click through any one of these and drill down to subtabs within subtabs and be able to figure out, okay, well, so they don't have such great response rates to radio advertising, but if I am going to put out some radio spot, I should be advertising on the alternative rock music station rather than your 60s to 70s music, because the numbers again say that's where these folks are. If you're trying to tackle them, know that type of data. Really helpful. For this particular example, though, something slightly more pertinent is if we come down under this, how we maintain healthy lifestyles, then we can say, all right, physical fitness programs. All right, okay, here we go. So these family fantastic households, they're 2.53 times more likely to work out at the Y. Useful. They're 1.62 times more likely to work out at a private club. Huh, well, I wonder who out there is the most likely to work out at a private club. Click on any one of those line items. Experian will crunch the numbers. You can hear it thinking away in the background. You can rank it and figure out that, oh, out of all the households out there, it's your G25s. They're twice as likely to be working out at private clubs. And who are they? Well, that's your urban edge folks. Younger, up and coming good folks. Guy with the man bun. He's working out. So again, if you're trying to figure out who your best match is, and then look at how the numbers shift around here, okay, maybe it's not those family fantastic households that you're trying to reach now. Maybe it's the urban edge folks. And to know that, oh, well, text them. Get a hold of their mobile phone numbers. Let them know what you're doing. And on that front, there are a couple of different paths that we can take here. So Experian, they are sitting on 2.32 million mobile phone numbers for these types of households scattered around the nation. I am in what seems like year 17, but really it's only year 2 of trying to work with Experian so that I purchase all of this contact information for every household segment in Spokane County. And then I just treat it like a library resource, make it rain, and give it all to you guys. Then, if you want to expand out to Kootenai County and Coeur d'Alene, you're like, man, that Spokane data worked really well. Then you flow through the library gets a kickback, Experian gets a sale, everybody wins. Experian, they keep coming back to like, you want to give our data away. Explain that again. So I'm like, well, I'll pay you for it one time, and then yeah, I want to be your sales force here on the ground. And so we're slowly making progress, but Experian, they're a big ship to try to turn. So I've found that you have to be really patient with them. So just know that that is available, that Experian is sitting on that type of contact information. But to come back to demographics now, and to be able to come in and see, okay, within that 15-minute drive time of the downtown Spokane Public Library, oh, geez, we've only got 99 of those urban edge households. You can't build a gym around 99 households. I mean, I guess if you capture every single one of them and they each pay you a boatload of money, you can make that fly. But otherwise, look at those numbers and realize, okay, within that 15-minute drive time, they just aren't there. There might not be enough of them to build a business around. So all of this data, you can map it, which can also be really helpful. Let's bump back over here to our maps side of things. And again, actually not again, because I didn't mention this at the first. Don't worry so much about, oh, Mark, he clicked there and he pulled down this little drop-down menu. Don't worry about that level of detail. Those brochures that I handed around, they're in the lower right-hand corner. There's a link to the trumba.com. That's my calendar. I usually have it filled out 2 weeks or so in advance. So should you want to meet up for more of a one-on-one, just hop up there onto my calendar, find a time that works for you, click sign up. There's no need to bounce emails back and forth. If there's a time listed there, I've set it aside, so just go ahead and grab it. I get a notification, you get a notification as well. So don't feel like, oh geez, I didn't see where he clicked. We can cover that at a later time. But let's come in here and tell demographics now what it is that we want to map. So you can map hundreds of or thousands of different data points here, but let's go with this mosaic stuff. And you just have to keep clicking until you can't click anymore. And let's go with households. All right, so actually, since there were so few G25s, let's come back here to our family funtastics and see what that looks like. All right, so let's say that it is those family funtastic types of households that you're trying to target, trying to reach for your gym, trying to figure out, okay, where are they? Give demographics now a chunk of time here to grind through it, and eventually, there we go. So there's your kind of heat map concentration for your family funtastic households. So if you're thinking, oh, well, I'm going to put my gym kind of over here, there on the north side of the valley, well, I'd say don't do that. Because if you want folks to be able to easily get to you and from you before or after work or after school, make it easy for them. Make sure that you're not asking them to drive a ridiculous distance. Was there a question? Or, no question. Just a flying back. Okay, all right. So for business planning purposes, super handy to know where your customer base lives, what they look like, how they view what's going on in the universe, how they prefer to be contacted. That will put you light years ahead of just kind of guessing and trying to figure out as you go. I'm all for trial and error, but if you've got options besides trial and error, do that. Let's see here. One last thing here to point out with demographics now before we move on from here. So for this particular example, it didn't work so well because she's just in the startup phase and she doesn't have a customer base to draw on. But if you are working already with customers, specifically household customers, and you have access to their household information, as in household address information, if we come in here under this reports option and go under report type, and then under report type, go to customer analysis, then what you can do is upload your customer base into Demographics Now. And if you've got shipping logs, if you've been sending product out to households, that's a great source for this type of data. However it is that you capture that household address information, do it. Because then what you can do is just put that data into 4 separate columns: address, city, state, zip code, upload it there into Demographics Now, and then say, run the Mosaic customer segmentation report, but just for the addresses that you upload. And what it will do, I've got one report that I've run for somebody who did this exact same thing. So she's over in Coeur d'Alene. I won't tell you who she is or what she does, but there's her list of, I think it was about 350 different addresses of customers that she has just in the Coeur d'Alene area. So we upload all of those into Demographics Now, and then it spits back this report to say, oh, hey, did you know that almost half of your customer base are digital dependents? She's like, what? That's amazing. She had no idea. She'd kind of been trying to just spread her marketing dollars thinly but evenly across the landscape, and now that she knows that just in her top 3 segments, her digital dependence, the aging of Aquarius, and the rooted flower power, that's more than 80% of her customer base. And she's like, man, that is going to be really helpful when it comes to getting way more targeted and way more focused on who she's trying to reach and how to go about it. Local success story with this exact report. I don't know if anybody's bumped into Stay Alfred, company here in town. They kind of run a VRBO type of platform, but they own condo units instead of being the middleman in between. I worked with them several years ago, worked with their marketing department, and they thought that they were marketing to kind of the mid-30s to mid-40 business traveler set, and they ran their list of something like 40,000 paying customers at that time through Demographics Now, ran this report, and it was overwhelmingly this well-to-do senior citizen set. And their marketing department, their heads exploded. Like, what? That is crazy. Because they weren't trying to reach them. That wasn't who they're trying to get in touch with. But that was who was putting Stay Alfred nights on their credit cards. So they were like, oh, man, I guess we can lay off of our world-class Twitter account because those folks don't check Twitter. And I would like to take complete credit for this, but just this summer, Stay Alfred, they rounded up, what was it, $48 million in outside funding. So somebody is really happy with what they're doing. So I'm waiting for my check to come in from that, but I'm sure they just got the address wrong. It's just getting back. It's in the mail, exactly. So a lot of things that you can do there with Demographics Now. All right, back to the home base here. So for our CrossFit trainer, she's just opening up, so she doesn't have a customer base to work with. Oh, actually, hang on one second. I'm going to leave that up and running here. So as she's looking for, okay, who are her customers and just how many might be here in the local market, Demographics Now is awesome for that. But another tool that ties in really nicely is this A to Z databases. And this one, get access to from home, from work, wherever you might have library card and internet access. Oops. Let me get signed in here. If you don't have your library card, there's your chance to jot mine down. There we go. All right, so A to Z. Again, it covers the entire US. This is my primary business directory, so for competitive analysis, we can hop in here and pull together the list of, okay, who are all the Spokane County gyms and fitness clubs? That's a 30-second search. Then we can map that and see, okay, here where your competitors are. It gets used a lot, again, for sales lead types of questions. So if you've got some service or widget to sell to gym and fitness clubs, take that exact same list, dump it into a spreadsheet, you're up and running. A to Z, they also, though, on the customer and consumer side, they try to keep tabs on where we spend our money. So, like I mentioned, it covers the entire US, but so it's great for benchmarking Spokane against any other market. But let's just keep it local here for the sake of the presentation. All right, so we could say we're looking for Spokane County households. For this particular example, our CrossFit trainer, she was looking for folks of a certain age range, and she's also specifically going to be focusing on the women out there. We can narrow this down by household income and any number of other filters. Are they married? How long have they lived in their house? But under that, interests and hobbies and lifestyles, we can come in here and say, all right, who are those Spokane County women between 26 and 49 that are into their aerobic exercise, and let's say they're dieting and weight loss, and we run our search, and there's our list of 16,105 women in that age range here in Spokane County that A to Z has pegged as being into their health and fitness. Yeah, really helpful.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it gets a little creepy. I readily acknowledge that. I mean, I don't know, Megan. Is Megan in the room? So we'll pick on Megan. Occasionally, you know, so we can pull up a list of wine drinkers around town, and I've had in one of my presentations, somebody's like, that's me on line 4, which is kind of funny. But so how A to Z pulls these lists together is kind of how the marketing sausage gets made. If Megan subscribes to Runner's World or Shape Magazine, any magazine subscriptions that would give off some ping saying, I'm interested in health-related issues, that information gets chopped up and sold around. If Heidi, if she bought a new elliptical trainer, she filled out that product warranty card, send that back in. That's just another vacuum cleaner of marketing data. Your store loyalty card programs, your Fred Meyer card, your Safeway card, your Costco card, all those sorts of card loyalty programs that tie your specific purchases to your household. That's the only purpose that they exist, is to gather that type of information and pull it together. So if you want to stay off these lists, pay cash.
Live off the grid.
Yeah, live off the grid, buy off of Craigslist, and you know, you've got some options there, but primarily pay cash is what it comes down to. But you know, so I kind of go back and forth. I have this Jekyll and Hyde response where I don't want my personal information floating around out there, but at the same time, for a business research side of my life, this is awesome to be able to hook Spokane businesses up with this type of data, because if you're a big enough company, if you've got deep enough pockets, you've got access to this stuff and way, way more. So if the library can step in and kind of democratize access to that type of information and level the playing field somewhat, then it's a win for Spokane's businesses, which, you know, that's how my paycheck gets funded, is Spokane businesses cranking out sales tax revenue. So anything that I can do to make sure that that happens, it's a win for me as well. Let's see here. All right, so a couple of things just to quickly shout out about this A to Z stuff. You can map all of this really quickly, so you can compare this against that demographics now data that we're looking at. Sometimes if it's a big enough file set, it takes a while for it to download here. But again, for site location types of questions, like, hey, where should I put my gym? I don't know why it starts out so zoomed out. But generally, if you know Spokane, these maps tend to make some pretty intuitive sense. But again, you know, it matches up pretty well with those maps that we're pulling together of demographics now and where family fantastic households tend to reside. Okay, good to know. And if we had pulled together that list of competitors, not saying it doesn't exist, but maybe there's a pocket right there. And I've had folks use this combination of tools of Demographics Now and A to Z to figure out, okay, weird, coming off of Highway 291, coming in from TumTum, there are no coffee shops on the right-hand side of the road as you're coming into town until you're well into Francis, well into town. That's weird. Seems like there are enough cars going by there that people might want some coffee in the morning. So, being able to get access to that level of data without needing to go out and do your own independent market research. Super handy. All right, so those are kind of the main heavy-hitting tool. Oh, I'm sorry. Dang, one thing that I meant to mention. So for our startup specifically, if we get back here to our list of results, so that Demographics Now option where you can upload your customer base and figure out, okay, are they aging with Aquarius? For our CrossFit trainer, she's just getting up and running. She doesn't have a customer base, but what we did with this is we just downloaded a sample of maybe 1,000 of these records. You dump them into a spreadsheet, then they're yours to keep, play around with them, do with them what you want, but you've got the address information. Take that address information, drag it over to Demographics Now, and say, all right, does Spokane match up with kind of these national profiles? Are there weird kind of anomalies where Spokane behaves in some different way than what Experian has data for? Awesome stuff. All right, back to the home base here. And we've got about 3 more minutes. And then if there are questions, shout them out. But I'm just going to quickly hit Mach 9 here and just blow through some of these just to let you know. Bloomberg, same platform, same resource that Wall Street traders use all day, every day to make their multi-million-dollar bets on sell Apple, buy Google. You have to be at the downtown branch to get access to that. And again, it's us, New York Public Library, the 2 public libraries in the known universe that make public access available to Bloomberg data. Quick win of a story. Eastern's MBA program, Eastern Washington University, they don't have a Bloomberg at their school, and they caught wind like, what? You guys have one at the downtown library? We're going to build an entire class, actually 2 classes, around access to our Bloomberg terminal. So they're wrapping up the winter quarter class here in the next couple weeks, and then the spring quarter class starts up. So I don't know of another public library out there that's offering that level of curriculum support to a 4-year institution. So for free, exactly. We're in a 2-year contract cycle with Bloomberg's, and we just started our 2nd year. So I'm thinking by the end of the 2nd year, I can go to Eastern and say, all right, we're paying $26,000 a year. How about if you guys kick in $5,000? How's that sound? Everybody wins. All right, so business source complete, magazine, newspaper, trade journal type of database, covers 10,000 plus different titles, Harvard Business Review, Journal of Accounting, marketing for healthcare professionals, thousands and thousands of publications there. Buxton, I'll skip over that. Buxton's going away, excuse me, on the 24th. It's super cool. It's actually a site, retail site location type of platform. And the Downtown Spokane Partnership and River Park Square and Visit Spokane and the library, we all threw some money in the hat to get access to it. It's $50,000 plus per year type of tool. And it's super cool, but it's not $50,000 year cool.
So when is it going away?
24th. So you've got between now and the 24th to drop me a note, and we can sit down and play around with it and see if we can find some data there that would help you. Demographics Now we looked at, Foundation Directory, that's grants, research stuff. You pretty much have to be a nonprofit for that to work for you. Yale courses, college level classes, get access to for free with your library card. We don't give you course credit because we're not an accredited institution, but it's the exact same platform that SEC uses for their online courses. So if you just want the skills but not necessarily the credit, hop over there. Lynda.com, anybody bumped into that? Use it? Do you have your own subscription?
No, I
Yes. That's the answer that I was looking for. So lynda.com, I'll just quickly give you a sense of what that looks like. So it's owned by LinkedIn, which is now owned by Microsoft, so technically it's a Microsoft product. But I think at last count, something like 7,000 some different courses. Oh, I don't know why it's saying my courses failed to load. I was just using this. There we go. Okay. So it's pretty heavily aimed at the tech world. So if you're looking for coding instruction, web design, graphic design, any types of those types of subject areas, great content there.
Like getting organized.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Ton of soft skill courses, time management, leadership, that sort of thing. Ton of project management institution certified courses that are available here. And there's a chapter here in Spokane, the Pacific Inland Northwest PMI chapter. And I did a presentation like this to them. And they're like, hey, there are some courses. And they're like, what? Those are hundreds of dollars each. I was like, oh, well, actually, no, they're not. They're free. So go to them. But on the marketing side of things, so if you've got this great idea for a gym, but your target audience, they respond well to online ads, but you're like, man, I don't know my way around the Google ad world, then there's your 3-hour and 8-minute long Google AdWords essential training course. And they just march you through it, saying, here's how you set up your account, here's how you find your keywords, here's how you find out if those are hotly contested or not, and here are pitfalls to avoid. Get to all that from the comfort of your couch with a library card. All right, that pretty much rounds things up. Pronunciator, if you're looking to expand to Mexico and you need to learn Spanish, use that. ProQuest, another magazine, database, covers the Spokesman Review, so it's great for local content. Covers the review going back to early 90s. Reference USA, we dropped our subscription to that here at Spokane Public. It's the kind of precursor to A to Z. Same guy that started Reference USA started A to Z, so very similar products, just A to Z is a little newer, has some extra bells and whistles. And Washington State legal forms. That one's pretty self-explanatory. So that's the roundup for now. Definitely those resources, they're not set in stone. So if there are tools out there where you think, man, if I just had access to xyz.com, whatever it is, let me know. And I'm in the process now of hunting down a couple of different tools out there that are really narrow and niche and don't apply to just businesses generally across the board, but if there are enough industries or enough companies within that specific industry here in town, then I'm gathering them all into a room and saying, look, you need it, and you need it, and you need it, and you need it, but you're all competitors, so it doesn't really, it's really hard to try to crowdsource that type of approach, but if the library can kind of stand in the middle and say, all right, it's a $20,000 a year tool, but if you throw in 5,000 and you throw in 5,000 and you throw in 5,000, and maybe the library ponies up a little, then everybody gets access to it, and you don't have to carry the full weight on your shoulders, then everybody wins. So that's kind of where things stand right now. And my clock says it's 12:59, so I'm going to stop there. I'll stick around for questions, other ideas that might come my way, but thanks for hanging out, and we'll do this again March 13th, but instead of focusing more on the individual households and consumers, it'll be looking more at businesses and industries. So I'll stop there. All right. Yeah. Sure.